LCTR here, and it's time for a brand new game for this channel, and indeed it's a brand new game for the makers of previous titles such as Tannenberg and Verdun. Let's review Iszonzo. And well, as I'm name-checking those previous titles from the devs at M2H and Blackmill Games, I must also admit to never having played those older titles in this World War I series, so I'm coming at this with fresh eyes and expectations from the likes of Hell Let Loose, Squad, Beyond the Wire and other hardcore FPSs. I'm wondering how Iszonzo compares to them. But before we start the review, I want to, in my normal full disclosure way, say that the devs of Iszonzo gave me access to the game with a Steam key for the purposes of making videos about the game, just like this one. So how does the gameplay of Iszonzo compare to other hardcore FPS games? Well, like I said, I don't have any preconceptions of the tone of this series of World War I games, apart from obviously knowing a little about the time frame. If you have played those previous titles, then please do leave a comment, as I'm interested to know what seasoned vets of the series think of this new edition. I thought it might be in the mode of those expansive, open map type tactical FPSs like Hell Let Loose and Squad, but actually within the first few seconds of playing, you find it's a lot more approachable and arcade-like than those experiences. Gone is that long run from hidden spawn points and other logistical metagaming. This is a much more straightforward affair. The weapon sounds kind of set the tone here. I know I'm something of an annoying purist on weapon sounds, so you'd not be totally surprised that I was a little underwhelmed with the lighter approach that Iszonzo takes. There's little of that real thump and meat that something like Beyond the Wire has, but after some hours experiencing the gameplay loops and tone, I've actually come around to the less earth-shaking weapon audio being a perfectly valid choice for this much more approachable title. But unlike Beyond the Wire, Hell Let Loose, Postscriptum and so on, there's an almost more old-school feeling to the tone. For example, how the likes of Call of Duty never really attempts to play like Squad. It's focused on a more immediate, faster and less tactical experience. Don't get me wrong, there's no guitar riffs or kill street metals in Iszonzo, but the lighter approach is at least in that direction if you're used to a diet of tactical hardcore milsims. Don't worry about the hardcore nature of the damage model though. That mainly single-shot, bolt-action rifles are more often than not a one-hit kill. So if we're still talking in boomer old-school vernacular, there's something of the instigate about it. There is but one game mode. Think of it as a variation of the Battlefield favorite Rush, but more in the Bad Company 2 era, with longer, linear maps allowing for many attack and defense phases before the match is over. And the maps are generally narrower like Beyond the Wire. That was something I actually grew to like in that title too. Although you can't go on the mega flanks like you can in other titles, but the frontal Route 1 mayhem of a game set in World War I period really suits the experience that these games are striving to create. This, of course, does mean that it can be a brutal meat grinder of an experience at times. I don't mean that as a negative. Just know that winning is much more important than your kill-death ratio. So the maps tend to be longer, sliced into sections to allow the stages of defense across their terrain. With the words World War I in the description, my mind conjures a pretty cliched image of open terrain, trenches and barbed wire. The actual variation of the maps in Iszonzo actually took me a little by surprise, and I'll admit to not knowing much about these series of battles in World War I in this region of Italy. It means we don't just have the expected trenches and flat open ground. We have wooded areas, rolling hills, plateaus, and the real standout map for me, Dolomiti, or the Dolomites as I know the area, a map set in a beautiful alpine landscape. So what's so great about Dolomiti? Well, it doesn't feel like any other map, not only in Iszonzo, but in FPSs in general. You have this Sisyphean task of an assault up what looks like a sheer mountain cliffside, and yes, we do Greek mythology references on this channel. And it really is just a unique map that plays great. There are crazy uphills and small plateaus with destroyed buildings, which gives way to what looks like a preposterous ascent to the final part of the mountain, to the enemy encampment on the summit. It's certainly one of the highlights of playing Iszonzo to me. There are a number of classes too. Some of the usual suspects like Assault, Marksman, Engineer, but also some surprises like Mountaineer. This class kind of piqued my interest and I ended up sticking with it for a decent amount of time. Its abilities tend to pivot around spotting for your team. This might not seem very important, but as one of the great force multipliers is artillery, and they are blind to the enemy location without their help of their trusty mountaineer teammates. The gameplay of this spotting takes a few guises. Firstly, you have default binoculars, but also later on an aerial flare gun that can be aimed via the minimap, and it spots a large area of the map from above. So maybe someone using artillery selects an area that they want to know about. On your minimap, you see a request for spotting. You lob a flare to cover that area, and suddenly you're farming XP while also helping your team as a handy byproduct. All in all, I was expecting one type of game, but I got a much more approachable and traditional FPS design, and I mean that in a good way, but it also uses that hardcore damage model. It's arguably less mentally taxing and more action-oriented, but those single-shot weapons still feel really satisfying to use. The graphics of Iszonzo have a sort of rustic charm. There's a slightly old-school feeling to them too. There's some pretty flat lighting. Again, it is focused on action over hiding in the shadows milsim, but again, it's pretty approachable and easy to digest. It is Unity engine. This doesn't feel like a UE5 AAA title. There are some areas that look like a little last gen, things like stretched textures, particularly in the trench areas, that mark out the underlying tech as something that those used to the likes of the Frostbite engine are going to notice. I'm not trying to rag on the graphics here. You can see from the footage what it looks like, and in particular the explosions and other VFX look really decent. Just if you're carrying a cinematic expectation from something like Battlefield or Hell Let Loose, then recalibrate for more of an arcade-like experience. On customization, there's actually a lot of stuff to unlock purely through playing the game. There are uniforms and helmets and what can only be described as the most resplendent and thorough collection of mustaches that any game can muster. I might say that this is somewhat tempered by so many of the more adventurous choices being gated into DLC packs though. The stuff that catch your eye is often only available through another purchase, which while there is a lot of stuff to unlock through as you play, it does take some of the shine when it's a brand new title for me. A few months after the launch with a patch with some new gameplay stuff, yeah, okay. I know there needs to be some post-launch revenue stream, and to be fair, these prices are fairly low. Just wish the DLCs had sort of landed in a better way. So Iszonzo, is it worth playing? This is a title that surprised me. I expected one thing but came away happy to have found something different. It complements rather than replaces the hardcore milsim style games that I enjoy playing so much. It's approachable in a way that often those games are not, but it still has that one-shot kill design that those titles also feature. The maps and locations feel fresh, as so many other games have historically focused on other areas of the World War I conflict. Iszonzo pushes forward with beautiful scenery, and specifically with the Dolomites map, creates some incredibly memorable and truly unique moments. Iszonzo is £24.99 in the UK, $29.99 in the US, that's €29.99 in the EU. What do you think of Iszonzo? Are you a Verdun and Tannenberg veteran? Are you a milsim fan looking for something different? Let me know all your powerful thoughts and feelings by leaving a comment below right now. Like always, I'll be reading every single one of them. Yes, even yours. I'd like to apologize for how long it's taken me to actually get this video out. I'm afraid some real life stuff happened that took precedence. I really wanted this video out closer to the original release a few weeks back. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please do tap the thumb up button, leave a comment, and do all those things that the YouTube algorithm loves to see. It really helps me out, and I appreciate it more than you could guess. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Take care.